So while all of us Nintendo fans are recovering from the Game Awards' overall lack of first-party Nintendo titles being revealed, there is still a few brand new Nintendo Switch stories that have dropped that we have to talk about today. The first of which is actually one that we did find out from the Game Awards last night, and that is a game that I'm very personally hyped for to see the first DLC release, and that is none other than CupHead, and I want to cover it with you all today. Then we also have to talk about the fact that Paper Mario 64 just went live on Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack, and the big talking point for today's video is we now have the next N64 game confirmed to be coming, and I want to share with you guys what this means for Nintendo's update schedule on N64 games on Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack going forward. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. And as I mentioned, guys, we are hopping through a few different stories today, and I want to kick it off with an announcement that we did get at the Game Awards late last night, and that is none other than CupHead receiving its first DLC expansion pack, and this will launch day and date on the Nintendo Switch on June 30th, 2022. And I personally am extremely excited for this expansion, and while we do not know how long it is or anything, it is being called DLC Island, and it has a new playable character included as well that apparently you can even go through the base game with. So to quickly kick off this story, I do want to quickly hop over to Nintendo Everything, where they have a nice little article typed up with the new details that we know to expect around CupHead DLC in 2022. CupHead The Delicious Last Course gets release date trailer. It's been a long wait for the Delicious Last Course DLC for CupHead, but Studio MDHR finally provided an update during the Game Awards 2021 today. All Switch players can access the new content starting June 30th, 2022. CupHead The Delicious Last Course features Cuphead and Mugman, who are now joined by Miss Chalice, known to fans of the original as the Wise Legendary Chalice. They'll travel through the previously undiscovered Inkwell Isle. They'll have new weapons, magical charms, and Mrs. Chalice's unique abilities on their side as they take on a new cast of fearsome, larger-than-life bosses to assist the Jolly Chef Saltbaker in Cuphead's final challenging quests. Miss Chalice has a modified moveset and new abilities. Once she's been acquired, the character is fully playable through the DLC and the original Cuphead adventure. Now, CupHead was originally released in 2017 as an exclusive to Microsoft platforms, meaning the PC and Xbox consoles, but you could not play it on Switch until 2019. I believe April of 2019 is when it was released for the Nintendo Switch platform, and that's when I got a chance to play it, and I co-opted the entire game with one of my good friends, and I will tell you guys, start to finish, I enjoyed every single minute of CupHead. There are so many incredibly frustrating deaths. I would almost compare it to something like Metroid Dread, but a very different style, but Metroid Dread in the terms of difficulty, where the game is not going to bend. It will make you get good enough to actually live past the bosses, and it has a really cool co-op mechanic specifically where if you are playing with a friend, you guys can actually revive each other when one actually does die, and you get just like a brief window to do it. So it really adds to the intensity of the overall gameplay. The boss designs are genius, the level designs are genius, and there's different style of levels too. Like some of them you are more platforming based, where you're in a side-scrolling platforming style traditional level, and then other ones you are literally, you get turned into an airplane on certain levels, and it's like you're playing like, you know, one of those space shooters that you're actually having to worry about all the objects coming at you, and you're having to go up and down at the same time. So the whole thing start to finish for me was just such an enjoyable experience that I'm glad we are finally getting this DLC. I believe it's actually been planned for multiple years, but it's been pushed back so many times now, or just for so long, that I totally forgot it was in the pipeline at all. And you know, I hope that we get this DLC and it's a huge success, and maybe it helps the game sell more, and then eventually I hope we get a CupHead 2. Like, it is just such a unique game and a unique experience, and you don't find anything else in the realm of the art direction that they truly went, because if I'm not mistaken, they painstakingly hand animated this to make it look like a true 1930s style cartoon, as that's where it takes its overall style and inspiration from. So it's a really cool thing in my opinion. This will be out on June 30th, 2022. So if you haven't gotten a chance to pick up CupHead, this may be the perfect time to get into the series and anticipate this new DLC expansion that will be coming middle of next year. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below if you have played CupHead on the Switch yet, if you'll plan on getting it, or what your overall experience has been with the game, or what you've heard about it so far. So please share all your thoughts and feelings on all things CupHead in the comments down below. Now, the next two stories we're talking about today both have to deal with Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack, and the first one is around Paper Mario 64 being officially released on the service today, and it is an incredible game, a fan classic, definitely a win for us to get that on the service. Of course, we did know that this was in the pipeline, as when Nintendo unveiled the service as a whole, they showed the 9 games that it would be launching with, and then quite a few others that would be planned down the line, Paper Mario being one of them. Now, there's a couple different directions we're going to go with this conversation. First off, I want to address the fact that a lot of people, including myself, were curious if Nintendo would, when they added this game, make any behind the scenes changes to other games on the service, or maybe fix some of these emulation issues that we have been seeing, most namely around Ocarina of Time and the input delay and lack of fog and reflections and things like that. And I want to quickly read Oatmeal Dome's tweet, as they have looked at the code and things that have been adjusted on the NSO service, and as of right now, we can confirm that they have made changes, but not necessarily to what we had hoped to see them address. So let's quickly read through this tweet together. NSO N64 1.1.0 is out. Audio parameter nerd stream fill ratio was added to OOTUS. A per game hack was added to Star Fox 64 to remove lines on Sky. That seems to be it file-wise. Not sure about any code changes. Tested water temple, water still broken. So it is interesting that something was changed with Ocarina of Time, specifically around audio parameter, but I don't know exactly what that is, and it definitely doesn't sound like anything has really been addressed in terms of input delay, and then especially the big talking point around fans noticing the lack of fog rendering and then reflections, the water temple room being really the most viral one, because you can just clearly see from the side-by-side images how much it's just essentially downgraded on the Nintendo Switch version, and how it really lacks that environment and atmosphere that was even there on the original N64. That said, it is somewhat reassuring to know that they didn't just throw Paper Mario 64 on the service without making any other additional changes to the N64 games, because both Ocarina of Time and Star Fox 64 did receive minor adjustments. So does that mean that over the course of time, Nintendo will ultimately fix these issues? Well, I would say it's at least hopeful that they will. We definitely don't know what they're planning for the long term of the service, but I think that there has been enough fan feedback and backlash around certain things just not being as playable as they should for such a premium dollar service, that hopefully as we continue to see games added in, these will ultimately be addressed. And I am personally holding out hope that we get these things fixed and fully running at top quality before Majora's Mask hits the service, because I can't quite imagine playing through that game with noticeable input delay, and especially the lack of fog in such a dark environment like what Majora's Mask has to offer. So I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below if you're planning on picking up Paper Mario, if maybe this was the game that you were waiting for, that you're actually going to pull the trigger on the expansion pack, because I have seen some of you in the comments mention that before. So I want to hear, if you're excited to play it, what your thoughts are on it so far. I do think that from what I can see online, most people aren't noticing any major issues yet with Paper Mario 64. Of course, this is brand new as it just dropped today, so I will continue to monitor the situation in case if we do hear different reports, but I personally will be very excited to hop in and check out the game. And I think that even if there is some kind of input delay on something like Paper Mario, it will be far less noticeable and game breaking than it is in Ocarina of Time, because of course this is more of a turn-based style RPG as opposed to a action adventure title where you are actively attacking in a moment's notice on different enemies and things. So like I said, I want to hear from you guys on all your thoughts and opinions on all the NSO changes that we saw added in, and then Paper Mario being dropped on the service, in the comments down below. Now, the last story we're talking about today also has to deal with NSO Expansion Pack, and it's actually around the next Nintendo 64 title officially now being confirmed, and it is none other than Banjo and Kazooie, which is of course a huge win for fans that we don't have to wait that long to replay Banjo, and I'm very excited for it to come in January, as Nintendo has officially announced as of today that this will be a January title. Now, what's interesting is that we did not get the same kind of treatment that we did with Paper Mario, where we actually saw a little gameplay trailer and we had an exact launch date of December 10th to go along with the tweet. Now, this originally dropped on Nintendo of Japan's Twitter from what I can see, and from everything that is out there so far, I believe Nintendo has only announced that this is a January title and have not given it an official release date. So that in and of itself poses a very interesting question that we can ask, which is this a very early January title, and then we can still see them maybe deliver a back half of January title? And are we really going to see just one N64 N64 game per month, because so far it is looking like that. Although it is interesting that they are announcing Banjo and Kazooie so early without any kind of gameplay trailer and any kind of launch date. It's almost like they want fans to know, like, hey, we're at least going to do this monthly, so try to subscribe over the holiday season or something. And of course, bringing Paper Mario and Banjo as the first two titles added in there are definitely fan favorites that were high up on the list of anticipated titles to see added to the service. So it's like, is Nintendo just kind of trying to pump these things out as fast as they can? Well, I still think we're going to see them most likely drag this out at one N64 game a month, and maybe we get lucky. Like I said, the one thing is that maybe this drops very early January, like January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, something like that, and then we're surprised by a late January game being added in more like 25th to 30th range. Like, they could throw us a curveball and do something like that. That is what I'm hopeful for, but I think it's pretty clear that what this service will be a very slow drip feed of N64 games, and to my surprise, still no acknowledgement or mention of any new Sega Genesis titles, which we of course kind of knew that Genesis was the afterthought for this service, as again, you can play most all of those games already on a collection pack that Sega released on the Switch. So it's definitely the draw for the $50 annual price that Nintendo is asking, is absolutely the fan favorites that are N64 exclusives. I will also be very curious to see how Banjo plays when it is released, because this is another game that would essentially be, I guess you could compare it pretty similar to something like Mario 64, which I think Mario 64 does run good, and Ocarina of Time, for whatever reason, has the most noticeable input delay and lack of fog rendering and things like that. So I will be curious to see if Banjo suffers through any of that kind of stuff, or if by time this is released, maybe Nintendo has additional patches that go to the emulator and additional bug fixes, and maybe we just see it run perfectly. So I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below at this point in the video on all the different stories we covered today, but specifically, what do you think about Banjo and Kazooie being the next January title? How do you feel about the one per month update schedule as for the foreseeable future until we get a curveball from Nintendo and an additional announcement? It does look like that may be the schedule for NSO, and how do you feel about that if you've already signed up for a full year, or maybe you haven't signed up yet, and how do you feel watching on the sidelines, you know, trying to see if the service becomes worth it to you or not over the course of time? So I want to hear in the comments down below from you guys on all your thoughts and feelings on all things Nintendo Switch Online, and what Nintendo truly needs to deliver to make it worth it to you for their $50 annual asking price that they have the service clearly set at. So I do look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments down below, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.